Okay, I wish more of you had your cameras on because I'm talking to like all these black screens when I like to see your beautiful focaccias. That's Italian for face. Anyway, there's a lot of Italians on this show. Whenever they say focaccia, I always think of the bread because that's where it comes from. Anyway, long story. Focaccia, the bread looks like people's faces. Not mine, I hope. I didn't model that. I didn't model that biscuit. But anyway, I love to see your focaccias. So if you ever feel like turning it on, we're there. We're happy. If not, we're so happy to have you. So without further ado, Paul Silovsky, owner, CEO, founder of Rebound Physical Therapy, 2 locations in Topeka, Kansas. Oh, thank you, Nancy Johnston. You don't all have to feel bad. You little people in the dark don't have to feel bad that Nancy complied and y'all didn't. I said y'all. For Emily Watkins, who's not here today. But anyway, without further ado, here's Paul. He's runs a tremendous practice. I love when he tells us how we can all do the same in our businesses and our lives. Paul, take it away.
Thanks, Nancy. And yes, I do agree. There's no, it's not bad control. It's no control. Although no control would be bad, I guess, right? I guess so. It's not a good and bad proposition. So we will definitely cover that. It's a pretty simple definition. I'll go over our simple concept. Anybody that's already done a program or two with survival strategies will have seen this, but I'll tell you, after 20 and whatever years in my association with survival, I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to get better at it. So there are so many things to control inside of our practices that I don't know that I'd ever be a complete master at it. I know we focused on one major thing related to the revenue cycle this year. While we aren't seeing a ton more new patients, we're A, delivering a little bit more service, and B, collecting quite a bit more of the revenue for those services. In other words, we increase the value of the collectible value of services delivered. I had a major valuation done in my company back in 2017, and almost partnered with somebody else and sold. And it's interesting to look back at that 6-year period, and we've increased our production by $1.5 million in that time, which is about 50% of what we were doing then. But our profitability, we've increased our profitability by 100% in that time. Our profits have gone up 100%. So that all comes from this. I shouldn't say all, but the majority of it comes from dialing into a couple of the key things. We could list out 15 or 20 things just rapid fire today, and I'm happy to. I don't know how long this one will take, because as you guys, if any of you guys that have been on this before know that this is, I give these guys a subject that I think that is of importance, not necessarily for me. I listen to what other owners are telling me, because I interact with owners every week. I have a lot of friends, and we talk about all the problems that we have, privately. And these subjects come up. The things I talk about are the things that we're working on. These are the things I'm working on, right? So, but I'm working on with my executives. I'm going to double my exec structure this year in 2024. Double my number of trained executives, and guess what? That's me exerting control. So I'm going to give you the anatomy of control here. That's my opening salvo. I think you can all double your profitability in shorter time than what I did. I was kind of lazy about it, but nonetheless, I'm also doing it from a distance, which is kind of fun. So I have a little bit of freedom that I've created by doing this, by putting in controls. So hopefully that captures your interest a little bit, because that's what I'm going for, is freedom. It's kind of why it's the reason I make money, and not to have money. It's to be free. So to do the things that I want to do in life. So check this out. I guess I should throw some slides up here from the beginning. Good place to start. Okay, can you guys see? Carrie, you guys see my slide? Yep, good. Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna take the pictures off the screen so I can see my slides. Okay, per the promotion of the anatomy of control in your business, I asked the question, who governs the controls within your practice? I find often that, that sometimes, well, you definitely want your staff to be in control of their areas for sure, but ultimately we're going to look at this concept of ownership and governance, right? I'll look at that first. So key concepts and questions. First question, ownership versus governance. What is that, right? Governance is, I have this discussion with people all the time. There's a lot of people that maybe there's some guys that have either looked at selling or partnering, and or want to work their way out of their business and still be the owner. This whole concept of governance is important because there's a big difference between owning something and governing it. I invest with Nancy knows this. I do some investments with a guy called Grant Cardone. That's a real estate guy, and rather than me try and run real estate, I pay him to do it. He definitely governs it. I'm a part owner of some of his properties, but I have zero control over the governance of those properties or how they operate or anything, right? So while I'm an owner, I don't oversee it, I don't control it, I don't direct it in any way, right? So there's a difference. I could own my company and not be over the governance of the company, because there's a big difference. And then of course, ownership is the state or fact of being an owner, the legal right of possession, proprietorship. They're not the same thing, right? You can't be an owner and think that that's what's going to control your company. People aren't going to do things, aren't going to execute on your strategic plan. They aren't going to execute on their daily or weekly activities without someone exerting positive control. And we're going to go over some definitions of control here in a moment. That, like I said from the very beginning, I'm still working on it. I still train on this subject of control. Matter of fact, something just came to mind. Anybody that's curious about this subject, because I'm just going to go over the high points of it, you can get trained in improving your control. Survival Strategies has a course in how to increase your skill in this area, along with communication and the subject of control, because those two things go together very, very closely. They have a very special course that I'm going to put my executives through again. I have an in-house training academy, I'll just call it that, a training room, because I got trained to do this by Survival Strategies, so we can train in-house. So we're going to revisit this, and we're going to take these new executives and we're going to train them on the subject of control, which is what we're going to go over next on the definitions. Check this out. One of my favorite definitions of control is predictable change, right? I mean, if you can predict what's going to happen before it happens, I would say that you would be in control, particularly if you make that intention. If you execute on that intention, then you're predictably changing it. So that's one of my favorite definitions, is being able to predict what's going to happen. You have to predict every day what's going to happen with the schedule, with the patients on that schedule, with your ability to collect the revenue that's due. The whole, there's so many cycles that we'll name out. We'll just name out a few of them in more detail later. Not even in detail, we'll just name them out. But here's the one I really want you to get. So the anatomy of control is really three things: your ability to start, change, and stop. Okay. So if I were to, I have a partially filled water bottle here. I can't see myself on the screen right now, but I picked that thing up. I started it, I changed its direction, and I stop it, and I put it on the other side of the computer. You guys can't see that now, but that is me controlling that water bottle, right? There's a start, a change, and a stop, and that's happening a bazillion times a day in your practice across the various operational divisions of your company, right? So that's just the definition: start, change, stop. I got up this morning, I got dressed, I went into the office, then I came back to here. I'm in my hotel right now, but I got up, did a meeting with my VP of Ops, went to the office, came back here. So there's a couple of different cycles inside of there that I did. So he said, this is from Hubbard Management Technology. These definitions, you learn them inside of some of the training programs that Survival does. The entire subject of control is summed up in one's ability to start, change, and stop one's activities, body, and one's environment. So you have to control activities. You have to control, obviously, your own body. In the instance of being a therapist, obviously, we're controlling other people's bodies, which is really interesting at times, right? And your environment, okay? The people in your environment. And in our case, it's our companies, right? And the staff and all the actions and activities within the various divisions of your company. So those are three different ways to look at this subject, just look at the definition of control. This is the kind of control we're talking about: starting, changing, and stopping the many things that happen in your company. So what major actions are you and or your executives controlling or not, right? We talked about it. Either you have control or you don't. There's not good and bad. It's like, do you have it or don't you in your company? Because there's so many things, right? And some are more important than others, right? And I'm not going to get into that today, establishing importances, because actually you should, have some evaluation tools in place or use the assessment tools that Survival Strategies has to help you evaluate what you need to lean into the most. I gave the example of our company. Just this last year, we worked on revenue cycle. And it was mainly just the front end part of the revenue cycle, meaning, correct coding, properly charging, code diversity, using the right codes, getting our units per visit up, because we were leaving some opportunities on the table. We still have a ways to go with our patient pay collections. We'll control that better in 2024. We're manning up for that now. But with that change, with only having a 3 or 4% increase in total number of visits seen, and relatively the same number of staff, we've increased our gross revenue by almost 400,000. Okay, so most of that goes to not all of it goes to the bottom line, but most of it goes to the bottom line. Our staff pay went up $2,200 per staff member for the whole year across all staff, right? Like my financial controls officer, one of her key statistics is how much the staff get paid. She's responsible to make sure we have a well-paid staff. I know it sounds rather counterintuitive that your financial controls person, who also could be, some people call her the FC no, because she's really good at saying no rather than the FCO. But you know what? She sent her report in for the end of the year here, and she goes, "Hey, guess what? We're paying our staff $2,200 more per staff member across the board," and it's a result of us controlling just the revenue cycle. We'll get better at volume and arrival rates and jamming in some more new staff next year. We had some, like many people, we had some evolutionary changes with some staff coming and going, but we didn't really lose that many. We had about the same number of staff, but we produced $400,000 worth of income greater by exerting control. So check this out. We have a very simple business model, I believe, in the rehab industry. I think it's super simple, right? You basically have to drive in patients. You have to have people to see. You evaluate and treat them, and you collect the money. It's a super simple business, right? In my estimation. Now, there's a lot of moving parts inside of each one of those 3 cycles, but these are the 3 things that I look at. I make sure someone is in control of new patient volume, delivery, and collecting the money, right? Those are the 3 major actions that must be controlled. Again, I'm oversimplifying here, but guess what? You also must exert control over those 3 areas, because control equals income. Again, another management maxim that I learned from Survival Strategies. Again, it's a general concept, but any area of your life that you exert more control in will pay you. Okay, it may not always be in dollars and cents. In our case, as business owners, obviously the recompense or the compensation for what we do is financial, at least on the balance sheet and income statement and in the bank account. But I know that we get, we exchange with, and that's why I put up there, collect the exchange. In this case, money. We obviously exchange for success stories and the exhilaration of helping people. Never want to discount that, because if you don't create some emotional response in people, they won't send you more new ones. If you don't exert positive, predictable change or positive control on others, you won't make the income. But check this out: padding or training. Okay, you can substitute the words. Getting someone to take control. In other words, if all I did, and if you don't have a complete exec structure yet, I have no idea where most of you guys are at in the evolution of your practice. But I'll tell you, a great part of Rebound success comes from the fact that I have 4 super duper trained executives that I work with, and I'm obviously the 5th one, but I have personally trained all 4 of them to control their respective areas. Because I guarantee you, I'll put my PR and marketing director up with any PR and marketing director in the nation, as far as being able to drive in new patients. And my VP of operations, Bert, is an excellent clinician, I'm still continuing to train him to be a superpower, VP of operations or clinic director, whatever you want to call him, but to run, we'll open up another clinic next year, and he runs 3 different clinical services, two clinics plus a cash service that had the most growth that we've ever had in the past year for selling, personal training, massage classes and stuff like that. And then Janet, our VP of admin, who has, does the HR, the admin and finance kind of roles in the company, finance from a standpoint of just collection. My 4th executive is my financial controls officer. Those guys are super trained. I took full responsibility for them. I don't have to worry about them. Now, when I say double our executive structure, that's actually going to be more than double, but all of those guys are training up, deputies or juniors underneath them. Bert's going to have to train 4 of them. He's training 4 new ones to be every bit as good as he is. So he's got to quadruple his presence, where the other guys just have to train 1 or 2 others, right? So they're going to train or hat up people to take on super important functions underneath them, the most important functions that they can no longer effectively do just on their own. So hatting equals control. Also, the speed at which you control things comes from training. So some people substitute training for hatting. For me, hatting means getting their complete hat on so they can get their products rapidly. Because the way I know whether someone's trained or not is not only can they get the product, but how many can they get done in a week or a month or whatever the time frame is going to be, right? Particularly when it comes to executive control. So the last thing in here is, like, you can predict, again, that predictable change concept, right? You can predict what staff are going to do in controlling their actions with good policy, right? Provide good policy, have everything written up, policies and procedures, right? Not just why to do some things or what standard you have set, but how do you do them? So I probably should have put policies and procedures in there, and then training them up on that policy. And you'll have to retrain them. Guess what? You may have to go over the same thing 10 or 12 times. Many of my guys, these badasses that I have working for me, they've done multiple courses over and over. They've had to re-study things that they did. They may have done training with Javier, one of Survival's trainers, or there's other guys that you guys don't even know that I trained with in the past. Tim Mantis, guys that are on the Power of Choice. Those guys that trained me and my staff. We go back and revisit those materials and do it again, just so we can increase our speed and our certainty and our ability to better control our products or environment. So what are we controlling, right? How do you determine if those major actions, right? Driving in business, delivering good services, and collecting the money. How do you determine whether they're being controlled? You you must. This is why people get trained on the subject of management. You have to define all the major products within your organization. Okay. We're going to break that down a little bit further in a second. This isn't a drill on defining, the valuable final products of each of your divisions or the areas of your company, or for every post on your company. But for sure, with your executive team, they better be really dialed into every week and every month exactly the product, what completed, valuable, exchangeable product that they would have or need to produce for their position in your company. And you need to then measure those products with statistics. Anybody that's worked with survival knows that they manage everything by statistics. That's how they know whether they're helping you, is because we measure everything. And we do the same thing in our company every day and every week. Review our progress. We have a running total going too on how we're doing here to date. So, and then you have to assign that product or products and that statistic to the person or the post. It's obviously a post in the company responsible for that production, for producing that product, right? And it has to be theirs. It's not just I turn over, the gross revenue over to Janet, my VP of admin. And then she has to work with Bert in operations and Wendy in PR marketing to drive in, they drive in the new business, service them. She collects the money. Well, she can't collect the money if they're not delivering the services. They're not going to be delivering the services if Wendy's not helping drive in the new business, even though she has a team doing that. We have three full-time PR marketing staff plus the work we do with Uplift. Okay, and then you have to hold them responsible after you assign the product and the statistic, hold them responsible for recording it and verifying that it's a completed valid product, right? That they actually got it done, that was that a valid visit that was completed, and then did we collect the money on it, the money that was due from the patient, and then of course from the insurance company later. And then, we're controlling training. And like you guys saw before, that if control equals income, you need to figure that out for yourself, what things you need to control, and whether that datum is true for you, or that piece of data is true for you. But I guarantee you won't increase the control without training of your staff. So you have to commit to the hatting or the training that I mentioned before. Again, that's something that Survival Strategies has helped tremendously with us, is to put systems in place to train our staff, that give you the materials, but then you have to share with others. It just does you no good to be the only one that knows what the heck's going on and how to control things in your company. So what are the major products you must control in your business? Okay. I'm going to just go through it divisionally. I am not going to share everything. I actually would be interested. I can't see it right now. I'll probably come back to this slide in a few minutes, because I'm definitely going to have plenty of time, because I'm going to get through these slides pretty quick, and I'd love to get into the dialogue of the various things that you guys see as the most important to control, and figure out how we all can do a better job, because there's certainly things in my company that need to be controlled better for us to increase the level of delivery and the profitability. We're always working on it. But your human resources and/or your administration, I talked about Janet being over our basically admin and finance area, because she's really over HR and administration, meaning hiring of staff, onboarding, training, making sure that they're ethical, and making sure that they're ethical, productive members of our team. Right. So that's a big job. I think the most important one, because we're establishing the machine that's going to produce great outcomes with patients. And then Wendy is over marketing, that second division. So obviously, it's funny. It's not just referrals, right? It's not, well, how many, a referral is worth $0 until they start. You can have a boatload of referrals in your company, but that doesn't result in helping anyone, right? Or producing any revenue for the company, unless that person actually starts services, right? There's certainly patients that send you valuable referrals. Even someone who's had a great experience in the past, a friends and family referral, still isn't worth anything. It feels good. It's great that people send them, but you got to start. You got to start them, and the value of that start. Every start, I know Wendy is very much dialed into now. She knows every week, based on the number of starts, how much how much prediction that creates for our company. She no longer just worries about referrals. It's like, well, how many people started this week? How many did we help get in the door onto service? Because we don't help them until they get onto service. We might have some cool stuff online, but it doesn't change their life like a therapist does. So, and then the third division in finance, right? So there's many particles to control. We're going to go through a whole cycle slide next on that. But it's obviously, between the verification and, all the things that have to happen preemptively or predictively in the area of finance are pretty important too. So and the finances I'm talking about right now are just the revenue cycle, revenue production cycle, not the payment of bills or taking care of your vendors, your payables and stuff. Obviously you got to pay your staff, but if you don't do the right things on the front end, if you don't control things on the front end with verification, payment plans, payment agreements, if you're not skilling up your staff and their ability to control finances, I'll tell you, one of the things we have to watch really close is to make sure the people that are handling finances with our patients or with the public don't have too big a financial problem of their own, because I find that people that don't do well with finance don't do well with asking other people for money or getting it from them. They fail a lot. So you have to pay attention to that. You have to have people that are not doormats collecting money. The clinical delivery, obviously, we'll break that down further. But it's every start, every visit, every completed plan of care, and every success story which goes into the quality assurance. Do we have that highly satisfied patient whose life and function has been improved through our services? Can we validate that? Is someone verifying that, A, they're satisfied, B, that they're functioning better, and C, that it was just a great overall experience for that patient, and that it's validated, through appropriate documentation. Another thing we'll be working on even better this year as our volume, creeps up, to make sure that it's meeting the quality standards that we have set at the top of the organization. With myself and Bert, Janet happens to be have been a clinician over 20 plus years as well. So it helps to have our VP of Admin and Finance be trained in the clinical area. And then public relations, right? What is the health of our relationships, our referral relationships with referral sources, community sources, and current and past patients. Very, very important indicator to look at, every week and every month. What are your products to control? Obviously, if you're the owner or senior executive, you got to control all of these things. If you're the CEO, in my case, I'm still a CEO, so I have to check these things. I have to have a way to view statistically and through meeting with my guys, what kind of production and the quality of products are they producing. I have to control, Janet with those first three areas. Wendy does marketing and PR, and then Bert with the clinical delivery and the quality assurance. So if I don't have a defined product, a measurable product, and if I haven't trained them up on what I expect of them, it's really difficult for me to start, change, and stop all the activities that go inside of that. And then, of course, the overall company product. I want to know at the end of every week, well, how many highly satisfied patients do we have? How many completed their full plan of care and have a zero balance account? I mean, ideal scene would be they'd be highly satisfied, their life would be improved, and they'd be, functioning better, and they'd have a zero balance account and send other patients and send more new patients to us, right? So there's four things just to measure right there, but I better have good indicators of that overall product. So here's some correlative statistics. I'm just showing you this from a standpoint of control. I'm not worried about numbers or trends or anything here. I just picked a quarterly graph. I'm going to tell you that in our company, this is what I know. I know that if we control our relationships, this is that PR statistic, right? Look how freaking, and I know Nancy will be jonesing over this one, but our active referral sources is the driving number. How many active referral sources we have drives our clinical production. Our accrual charges is basically the value of service delivered. We calculate every week, even though we don't get paid the week that we deliver the services. You can see how correlative the number of active referral sources we have in our company are to our revenue. This is just a quarterly statistic here. Pretty wild. How directly correlative that is, right? And then here's this is a different financial calculation, and I'll actually isolate a problem that we're going to be working on going into 2024 that shows up on this graph, but it's still pretty correlative. It isn't as direct as the last one. This is I do what's called a 6-week average GI graph, meaning I'll take our gross income and average it every week for 6 weeks, the previous 6 weeks, and then just track that. So we obviously are on a nice upward trend overall on our average gross income. And I do that every week, but against our promotion out. So you can see our promotion, the amount of promotion that we send out. So we've got really vigilant after during and post COVID on just sending out lots and lots of promotion. So we'll get even better at it. I told you before, we got to get better at our patient pay collections. Our accounts receivable is too high. So our income is going to go up even higher when we get better at collecting the patient pay. We leaned into our revenue cycle and controlled that really well. Now we got to control the communication with patients to get them to pay faster. We have a good amount of AR that accounts receivable we need to collect on. But anyway, I'm just showing you that there's correlations in everything that you do. There's indicators. You can look at statistics and tell how well you're controlling the various areas of your company. So check this out. This is just a spitball and slide. I'm just gonna go through this and only show you a fractional portion of the things that I just banged this out last night and said, okay, I'm just gonna throw on a slide in no particular sequence the various things that we're all controlling as owners and executives in our company every day of every week, right? So how many cycles of action can and are being completed, right? That start, change, and stop. You'd have to measure each one of these things as a completed cycle. Where you started it, you changed its position, and you stopped it, you completed it. And I did not even break down every kind of communication that occurs on a given day in your company. Even if you have a small clinic, there's thousands and thousands of cycles that you're having to control in a day, right? Not, let alone a week. So if control is the start, change, and stop, you know, a promotional piece, completing a promotional piece and getting it out into the hands of the consumer, right? First, you have to obviously conceive of the piece, then you have to create it. You got to get it approved. You got to get it out. There's so many cycles within that, and it gets in the hands of the consumer, right? Hopefully, it produces some kind of a reach or a referral or a lead, right? You evaluate that, you get that person, you know, the person reaches in, they schedule, and you do the evaluation, right? So that could be one complete cycle right there from promotion to, you know, to a start. You perform one visit. One visit is a start, change, and a stop. The person, you know, has to arrive. They have to arrive on time, right? I put that on the right behind that. They have to arrive on time. You do the visit. You hopefully do enough visits that you complete a full plan of care and get, you know, the desired outcome, the overall product of your company. You get a success story from them, you know, some indication that they were satisfied or happy, right? You have to send out a claim or a bill, collect a copay. That's a completely separate cycle of action to start, change, stop. You know, you probably have to send out some statements to collect the balances beyond the copay or coinsurance. And then hopefully, you know, you get the end product would be a zero balance account. If you guys are doing any kind of referral relations or referral visits, right? You do visits, or you do front desk visits, you know, get out and engage with folks in the offices. Training an employee is a cycle of action, a start, change, and a stop. Get someone through a training program. Maybe you just write a mini training program, in my case, on how to collect a copay or co-insurance at the time of service. So we'll jam that in this year. We got some new front desk staff, and like I said, we had to get rid of one that was a bit of a doormat who just let people walk all over them. Super nice, super pleasant. Couldn't collect the copay and get people to arrive on time, right? So it's like, well, good. If you can't receive people and collect the money, then you're not going to make it on that post. So we have to train them. I mean, and we give people a chance. I mean, we just know that we're going to have to train people more to exert even more control in today's environment, right? In today's economic environment, it's pretty rough out there, right? So we're going to have to exhibit even more control to start, change, and stop cycles of action. Can we send out a clean claim? That would be a completed cycle. If it doesn't go through clean, it's not completed. You know, who cares how many claims you send out, how many clean claims went out? What are the claims errors? We have an upside down graph for meaning zero would be a perfect graph. That would be 100% to have no errors. One-on-one meetings with a staff member, that's a cycle, right? And it should have a defined product. You should have, you know, you should start, change, and stop a meeting when you've achieved its result. I have this goal in life to get down to 15-minute meetings. I'd love to get down to where every meeting was just so focused that it's 15 minutes, because in my world, every meeting that runs over or gets overly significant, they're non-refundable minutes to me. I cannot get a refund on my time, right? So I'd love to get down to where I can, I can control a meeting in 15 minutes time. I love my guys. I'll intentionally love them up a little bit, right? Just have a nice talk, because I don't, obviously I'm 3/4 of the time I'm back in Tennessee and a quarter of the time here. So I do enjoy, I love my guys. I enjoy my time with them. They've been around a long time. So I just let it be known that, if I'm gonna enjoy their presence and find out how they're doing and all that, great. But once the meeting starts, it's like, good, let's get this done in a certain amount of time. Let's get a well-defined product. Same thing in a staff meeting. If you want to have some fun for the first several minutes or the last whatever minutes, great. But get a well-defined product. You have to control that meeting and get an outcome, right? A phone call, every phone interaction should have a well-controlled product. How well someone at the front desk can control a conversation. We do training with our staff on controlling a conversation when they come into the company. There's a course on controlling a conversation that we deliver, as well as controlling, a body or a cycle of action with someone. This is how detailed that you can get with this, because if you don't train people, they will, they'll be controlled by something else, something or someone else, right? An executive meeting, my meeting with my executives have a very specific pattern to them, right? I won't get into what that is, but there's a definite start to the meeting. There's a definite change that we go through and a definite in phenomenon or stop. If I can get a meeting done faster than the allotted time, awesome. Get it done and move on and get into production, right? Get into those I like to reduce my non-refundable minutes. And then, strategic planning, that's a cycle of action. Writing up a program or a project to execute on your strategic plan, that is a cycle of action that you have to start, change, and stop. You have to put it into it. The list goes on, right? You guys can make an endless list here. I just put a few that came to mind in a few minutes last night when I put this particular slide together. Now, I said this before, you must establish the order and importances of each one of these things. Not all of these things have the same level of importance. You have to, if you have a statistical measurement system, OMS, or the statistical management system that Survival Strategies uses, you have to look at all that data. You could probably go back to this slide. If you didn't have any statistics, and if you just had one statistic for each of these 8 things, if you weren't measuring anything prior to that, and you control the major indicator in each one of these areas, you would be, way ahead of most executives in most organizations, 100%. Yeah, you'd be ultra way ahead if you had 8 different people in charge of those 8 different things. You'd be way ahead. And that's right. When I say I'm going to double my exec structure, it's like, well, we're going to have, definitely more than 8. We definitely have more than 8 executives right now. But if we had the ability to isolate it down to the one main thing for each one of those things, and then those guys delegate each of the sub products, like a referral and a lead handler and someone doing referral source visits and the actual start. If you carve all those things up and you had, independent, a separate person responsible for each one of those things, you would be light years ahead of most organizations. So I will tell you, I've said this before, and I know Nancy's heard this. It's actually easier to run a larger organization because you're going to assign individual products to people. My challenge would be, I'd love to double. We'll probably do a double. While we've done a double in profitability since 2017, we can do a double in the size of our impact and expansion with, not just the number of staff, but our delivery. We don't have to double the number of our staff to double our delivery, but that would be, some nice, that would be nice, having a nice impact on other communities. We probably can do about another 30% in Topeka over what we're doing right now. We have about 30% capacity. I just locked down a lease today to expand our satellite clinic because it's expanded the most. And then we have a 30% increased capacity in our main clinic because it's huge, it's massive, because we do a lot of wellness stuff in there, so we need space to do it. But it's interesting if you just look from the viewpoint of how much change you can control will come down to the number of staff and your ability to isolate down the importances of those products. And I love to pitch Survival Strategies because they help me so much. Get assessments done regularly. And Nancy's heard me say this numerous times. Get whether it's a financial analysis or a full practice analysis. I used to do one every year, and through the course of doing every program plus a bunch of custom programs with survival, in order to increase my ability to control and train more and more people so that I could establish the importances and lean into the things that were going to make the biggest difference for our patients, for my staff, and for the ownership. because those are all, you know, and I would throw the community into that too as a fourth caveat, right? Because we for example, you know, it's the end of the year here, and we have a Make a Difference campaign that we run internally, and based upon the number of successful completions that we have, discharge completions, Rox and I donate a certain amount of money per successful completion back to the community, so that patients and the staff, and then Rox and I and our executive team are held accountable and responsible for giving back for a job well done, because we want to make a difference in the community. But it has to be, the point is, it has to be this start, change, stop. You're a start, change, stop manager if you're a senior executive and or owner of your company. And the example I gave you, I love the end of the year, because we gift our staff. We're going to get, you know, huge bonuses this year because of the increase with the same number of staff, and the community is going to get a gift too, because we did a good job of making a difference and controlling and complete, because it's only the highly satisfied ones that were completed that we count as making a difference. So there's my story on this. I don't think I have any more slides. I'm happy to answer questions, because I just spitballed and fired, you know, a lot of data at you guys. This is, you know, a one-way flow out. I'm happy to answer any questions or break this down any further, because we have plenty of time. And then always interested, because Nancy never knows what I'm going to do, whether she found this, you know, spot on or valuable, because you're working both sides of the equation between Pizza Palooza and the or between the lemonade and the juice. They're eerily similar, but you know me, I just I load it up and I just fire away. So.
No, we love it, Paul. It's just two different styles. Diane's like drinking from a water hose, a fire hose, like, but she's just got all that information, and you have a different style, and it's a little bit more laid back, and there's different learnings for different types of people. They're both great. It's always fantastic. I mean, the core of similarity is that you're both incredibly successful owners that went and did every single program that Survival had. And like you said, even went into custom programs, which we still do every now and again for Paul. And our original clients, Dimi and Costa, who are original guys. Some of you know Dimi Kostopoulos in Astoria. But there's that. And then the other thing is that you both have the same training. So it has that same basis of similar stuff. And, you know, sometimes people come to me and they say things like, oh, we heard that already. And I'm like, great. Can you apply it already? Because a lot of times you can. And what we say is the number of times through equals certainty and results. So I'm on something that I'm studying right now myself. I'm on probably my fourth time of studying it. And I could do it another 4 times. Does that mean it's always exciting? Not necessarily, but do I always get some piece I didn't get the other time, which hinges on another piece? So it's that it's always great. And just FYI, for anybody that's on there and is like, what does Paul get for this? Because he sure mentioned survival strategies a lot. Let me pull a New York Yiddish word out of my elbow, which is bupkis. He gets bupkis. That means nothing. He does this to pay it forward. He's a big, fat, 100% believer in helping other owners. So literally, I kid you not, I was almost like, oh, geez, he mentioned survival again. They're just going to think he gets, you know, he does not get a toaster. He does not get a toaster. He just is a big believer in what works. And he does. I don't know if you can tell one thing about Paul Silovsky. He does not have a lot of time for stuff that doesn't work. I'm the same way. That's probably what Paul and I have in common. I have no time for anything that doesn't work. So if it didn't work, I would never, ever, ever bring it to you. If I loved Paul tremendously, but I just thought that his 1 hour was a waste, I'd be like, Paul, thank you. I love you, but we're going to go in a different direction. So I can't stand wasting people's time. I can't stand when mine is wasted. So we always try to bring you value. If you saw some value, I will tell you the next gradient is getting on those dang those dang courses, the January 19 and 20, getting that PA. You know, I'm going to tell you about that practice analysis as I rub my eyebrow in like frustration. It's very hard to explain to people how amazing that whole process is. It's literally ridiculous. The amount of people that call it eye-opening, it's what it is. It is completely eye-opening. We walk you through this pediatric or adult version of the system that Craig and a developer and a programmer and all these like fancy schmancy people came up with. And they go through all of your numbers. They do these studies. They do surveys on your staff. You really find out exactly where you are and exactly where you aren't. And I'll tell you, this is not the field to throw ish on the wall and hope something sticks. It's just not. This isn't like, you know, not that restaurants are easy, because restaurants are like one of the first businesses to go out of business, but you have time to like make it up. You know, you could be like, okay, we're gonna do all this pasta and everybody's gonna love it, and then you get like find out that you're next to like a what do you call the paleo people that like lift the crazy tires? What do they call CrossFit people? And they're like, wait, where's the protein? And you're like, oh, we only, and then you get crazy people, and they're like me, like, where's the gluten-free pasta? So you get a chance to do it, but that's not the way private practice works. You get one opportunity with that eval when it comes in, or you get that one or two, maybe third chance to go into an office and get that eval, get that referral. And it's a very easy business to burn a bridge at. So you really want to get the note. This is not, and there's a lot of you guys. The thing that dismays me the most is how much money y'all leave on the table all the time, all the time. The money that you guys are leaving on the table would blow your mind. Some of you, some in the back of your mind, like, I think maybe I'm leaving some money on the table. No idea. That's what the practice analysis helps you see, your actual potential with your existing resources. Then they show you like what would happen if, you know, gosh forbid, you actually hired people, or you stopped treating and you leveled up 3 people and they became your leads, and you didn't treat as much and you CEO'd more and you aligned more with your ideal scene. It is mind blowing. So if you just saw how much money you guys are leaving on the table, you would you'd be shocked. So that's all for me. I don't know if anybody has a question, or it's great to see you guys here, and always appreciate when you spend your hour with us. Paul, do you have anything you'd like to add to that, or?
Well, I'm curious. You know, I gave the example, so you guys can put this in the chat while I talk, because I'm going to give you my example. Put in the thing that you think, at least right now, that if you were able to better control either yourself or get your staff to do it, what is the area or the thing that you believe would make the biggest biggest difference? And it could be the, the objective difference that I shared with you. I just did the calculation while Nancy was talking, just so you guys knew the difference. And when I leaned into the revenue cycle last year, which was really on the charge diversity side, units per visit, making sure we captured everything that we should be capturing. So it was really more on the front end, and it resulted in, even though we still, in my estimation, still suck at patient pay. We can get better. Like, we're not bad at it. We're just leaving too much. We're just too nice, in one sense, meaning not good enough control. I just did the calculation. So we'll do, roughly a little over 47,000 visits this year. Just, I'm talking PT only, because we had not as much growth in PT as we did on the cash side of our services, what we call health and performance. But by leaning into that revenue cycle, it was $8 a visit more for 47,000 visits. Okay, you do the math. That's $376,480. That's most of that 400,000 that I was talking to you guys about, with no more staff. Okay, that was the same number of treating equivalents. Okay, so it makes a big difference. Like you're saying, we left that on the table in 2022. We did not leave it on the table in 2023, right? And consequently, I'm gonna write some big freaking checks here in a couple of weeks to all of my guys, everybody that's been here all year. and we've bonused about 120 grand this year, and there's going to be, close to that much for just the end of the year, right? We're sharing a major portion of that because I appreciate the shit out of that. That was my wife, actually. That's not the number, by the way. I appreciate that too. You guys can tell her.
Paul's gone crazy. Paul's gone crazy. Paul's gone off the Richter. No,
So
that's totally. You got me thinking. I'm like looking at, I keep saying that I'm going to make things available. Like I want people to have help all the time. In my world, they would go and they would buy a book, then they would come to a webinar, then they would do and then they would do another webinar, then they would do a PA, and then they would be on major programs, and then they would roll along. That's like how I see it, because those are the people that no one ever asks me. Nobody says, Nancy, what have you seen in the 11 years you've been with survival? Or the 6 years you've done 5.5 years you've done Palooza? What have you seen? Boy, I will tell you, I will see that the people that have the know-how really have such a better quality of life, and they just have a better time of it, financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically. I've seen practices practically kill people because of the amount of 60, 70 hours a week going home, doing the books, doing the billing, answering to spouses that are like, why is this such an expensive hobby? It's not even a real business at this point. So I've seen a lot of that, and I've seen people turn practices around in the middle of like the worst things, like people going, I can't hire anybody, nobody can. And I'm like, really? Our people can. I can tell you people that had 8 people and now they have 38 people, and people be like, well, they're not in a rural area like me. I'm like, oh, talk to Adelaide Simpson. She's in Las Vegas, New Mexico. Population on a good day might be 13,000. Started with 8, she's got 18 now. And she's like, and still going. So there's that. Now I want to address some of these people here. So no,
Not with your finger.
Oh, not with my finger. It doesn't work. I think I'm on a, yeah. Yes, Pam Mitchell working on the effective reimbursement program. That is major control. That is control of the control that gets your money in better, quicker, faster. And then we have Kelly and Casey, therapist production. Wait, no, somebody else said, oh, Tracy. Sorry, Tracy and Casey. Ditto on the therapist productivity. Well, you got a little problem there because production has somehow become a dirty word. So you have to learn how to get control of that by boiling it down, because when you say production, they hear and they hear like they think you're 5 patients away from a beach house. What the common denominator hopefully is for everybody is that you want to help people. You want to help more kiddos. You want to help more patients. You want to help, if you're adult, you want to help people get back to their lives better, quicker, faster. If you're with kiddos, you want to help them get to their milestones. You want to give that caregiver relief, and you all want to serve your communities. So getting control of that is extraordinarily possible. We couldn't do what we do. Paul couldn't move on to the next thing, the next brick in the wall, couldn't go in if he didn't have control over other things. Because I'll tell you, when you get the parts moving in the right direction, you actually really start to CEO. And until then, you're really just, it's like you're more like a circus leader. You're more like in this ring, we got the front desk crashing. In this ring, we have, cancellations gone wild. And then we've got people that don't want to work or show up for work. You have to become the CEO and not the ringleader. You have to stop running a circus, and you have to get that control. And it is 150% possible. We wouldn't be around for 35 years and have literally thousands of people that have gone through our programs if we couldn't tell you the easy thing about the control part. That's the easy part. I swear, I'm not even joking. This year we worked on patient collections, gotten too large since our patient AR is now 50% of what, Kelly, I would strongly suggest you look at the effective reimbursement program. We have people come in, it looks like they need referrals, looks like they need management. When we look at their stuff, oh man, they need the effective reimbursement program. It teaches you how to get your money in better, quicker, faster. And then on top of that, it also teaches you how to bring billing in-house if you don't have it. And it's a little bit more expensive if you don't have it. And we have to teach you how to bring people in. But if you do have it, it's cheaper. And oh my gosh, people like it's like winning the lottery when you get all that AR in. People are like stupefied at what that program does. That's a little sleeping giant, that program. People don't usually do it as their first one. They usually need management or referrals really bad. So we put them through that. But there's been quite a few more people that have started with the effective reimbursement program. If you even just want to talk to people that have done it, don't talk to me. I get a paycheck from people that I'm connected to. Wink, wink, like the mafia. You want to talk to other people that have done it. It is really a stupendous thing, and it's so simple, and it's a system. And once you have the system, you don't need us for that, and you get your money in all the time. Paul, you did that program, yes?
Yeah.
Or is that one of the ones you did?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, we
Oh
did.
yeah. So his whole, yeah. So that is that. Oh wow. Okay, good. So that's it. That's all I have. We love talking to you guys. We love talking to you, whether we're selling you something or not. We try not to feel like we're selling you. We try to feel like we're helping you. Unfortunately, there is a paycheck. There's a pay period to some of this stuff. You do have to pay for the big ticket items. You can't get on the big roller coaster for free. It's a e-ticket. I don't know if you guys know the e-ticket structure in California, but that's the big ticket. These little 1 hour things are great, but they're nuggets. You're not going to nugget your practice to major success. But we just love to talk to people. We literally talk to you. If we can help you, we can. If we can't, sometimes we have to throw the fishies back and say, we can't help you. So, and sometimes people refuse help, which is really sad. And you know what that's like when a patient comes in and you're like, I can help them so much. And then they drop out of treatment. You're like, what? We have that too. And Sarah is working on effective reimbursement. Oh, you are so welcome we love giving you guys help. It's my favorite thing in the morning. I literally wake up like, how can I help these people today? And Paul is the same, like I said, and my whole team, Carrie here. So we don't want to take any more of your time. I just want to say thank you all to give us the hour here. We know that it's very valuable. And then we put the juice, where do we put this? We put this in the private practice network, right?
Yeah.
So if you're adult and you're
The
part
recording.
of what?
The recording.
The recording, that's what I meant. We put the recording. We are finding a place for this to live permanently. I'm going to get on that for 2024 so that the juice can live like the lemonade. You just access and go, that was a great lemonade. That was a great juice. Where is it? So that's it. But if you ever want the recording and you're not a part of the private practice network and conferences, we keep that one for adult. We used to let adults join peds, and then we're like, no. We want to keep it separate so the topic stays relevant. But if you are peds and you do want a copy of the recording, you just write us at hello@pizzapalooza.com. If you are adult, if that's the public you serve, it is going to be in the Facebook group like in a week or two. Private Practice Network and conferences. That's all for me, you beautiful people out there. Paul, anything you want to say to wrap her up?
No, it was good to see the feedback. I was just curious of what people are needing to lean into, and I'm hoping that just the data opens the viewpoint, the awareness of getting you to start looking at how you can control those things even better, and use Nancy and her crew to dial into that, because I didn't do it alone. So.
Yeah, this is one of the hardest. There is so much, like if you're a restaurant owner, you go to your like chamber of commerce, you can meet you're in Hollywood, you're in a big market, you go meet 5 other restaurant owners in 5 seconds and buddy up with them. This is a very sheet in the wind kind of practice, and you guys get on like a little island and you're doing your thing. And that's why this whole group got invented. I was like, wow, these guys are like sheets in the wind out there. How do we connect them all up? We've been really successful, and it's been a real amazing privilege to be able to do that. So, but don't be a sheet in the wind, you guys. Get some dang help, okay? You know what your business looks like a year later when someone's held your hand for a year, once a week? Oh, forget it. It's like night and day. Anyway, I can go on and on and on, but we got Aruba to see here, people. So no, we actually have targets. We're actually working.
Meetings.
We have meetings on top of meetings. This ship could be in Secaucus, New Jersey. It would not matter. It would not matter. We are like ourselves so that we give you a fantastic 2024. And we're excited about that. Right? So that's it, you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Paul, thanks again. Nancy, thanks for joining us live with your sunshiny self there. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Bye.